The Best in the World podcast with Richard Parr.
Hello and welcome to The Best in the World with Richard Parr. Have you done your Christmas shopping yet? Come on people, there's not long to go. Well, guess what? I'm going to give you a free gift today, and that is the knowledge from an Olympic champion. In fact, I give you this gift every single week because we learn from Olympic champions, world champions, former world record holders and former world number ones to find out what they do differently from the average Joe. And it is fantastic this week because we are speaking to the Olympic gold medalist in women's hockey, the goalkeeper Maddie Hinch. You may remember Team GB getting to the final and winning it for the first time, beating the reigning defending champions, the Netherlands, on a penalty shootout after it finished 3-3 in open play. And Hinch saving 4 penalties. Absolutely unbelievable. And it's a fantastic chat we have with her today. We talk about all kinds of different things, such as how Maddie's life has changed since she became an Olympic champion. In fact, some of the celebrities that she's met since she's become an Olympic champion. Listen out to that. She also tells me how she got started in the sport, how gaming helped the team relax using an Xbox, and also what was written on her famous water bottle. We also discuss food, music, and what it's like to live in the Netherlands, and that's all in today's podcast with Maddie Hinch. It's a must-listen to episode. Whether you like hockey or not, it's really good for you and your everyday life. If you want that little bit of improvement, you can learn from the best in the world this week. Just before we get to the interview with Maddie, I want to tell you that this week's podcast is brought to you by the sports breakfast show Sportacino. It is live on Facebook, YouTube, and on Periscope every weekday morning from 8 GMT. It's hosted by myself and we discuss a whole range of topics. We touch on something similar to here on The Best in the World, but also a little bit more sports results orientated and anything from what is going on around the world. From the Czech Republic to Russia to Uganda to Singapore, we cover sports on a global proportion, and it is an interactive show. So if you have any opinions, you can do it live on Facebook, YouTube, and on Periscope. It's called Sportacino, Sportuccino. Find us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Periscope, Snapchat, you name it, we are there, and we're there live every single weekday morning from 8 GMT, and they are sponsoring today's Best in the World with Richard Parr, so please go and check it out. All right, let's get to it. Let's get to the interview with the very best in the world. This week, it's the Olympic hockey gold medalist, Maddie Hinch.
The Best in the World podcast with Richard Parr.
Maddie Hinch, Olympic hockey champion. Welcome to The Best in the World with Richard Parr. It's been a few months since you won that gold medal. How's your life changed since then?
Yeah, it's changed pretty dramatically. It's been a bit of a whirlwind since we kind of landed back from Rio, very much non-stop. Some really exciting opportunities have come up, and you know, everyone's talking about hockey, which is incredibly exciting and something that we've dreamed of as a sport. It's a fantastic game. It just hasn't had the coverage it deserves. So to have, 9 million people tune in for that final and give us the opportunity to show what the game's all about is great, and so long may it continue.
Apart from being on The Best in the World, what's been the most fun opportunity you've had since Rio?
I think the going on the Jonathan Ross show was pretty surreal. Renée Zellweger was also on at the same time, and she's like one of my favourite actors, so I had to play it very cool.
Oh, superb. I hope you got a photo with her at least.
Yeah, I did, definitely.
So let's talk about the day of the final and that amazing fun. And you mentioned 9 million people watching it in the UK. Did you even when you're in a training camp and you're concentrating on your performance, on your matches, did you even realise that just so many people were watching back home?
No, we actually had no idea because we had decided as a group to take ourselves off social media throughout the entire games. And kind of we even went down as far as to change numbers so that people back home couldn't be kind of saying, oh, do you know that so-and-so's saying this back home, or the viewing numbers are expected. We really kind of put ourselves in a really tight bubble and cut ourselves out really from everyone outside of us, so we could really focus on what we were doing. So yeah, we generally had no idea that what had kind of happened the moment we stepped off the pitch. You know, in some ways that was great, because I think if we'd known that 9 million people were watching and the impact that it had back home, it would have been a lot more scary than it was.
I'll be honest, it was one of those where were you moments. You know, certainly during the Olympics, I remember exactly where I was when you were saving penalties and you guys won the Olympic gold medal. It was absolutely an amazing achievement. Was it hard giving up social media? Are you someone who uses it a lot, or was it just really you knew that you were there to have a job and it didn't matter?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I definitely enjoy social media, always have done. But I think when we got together as a group and discussions were going around about kind of what we're there to do and the job to do and the importance that social media would have, it was a bit of a no-brainer that, you know, at the end of the day, we're there to do a job and to win a medal. And yes, at the same time, we wanted to kind of grow our sport and the intention around it, and social media would have helped that. But it came down to that basically, if we're playing well and doing well, then more people will follow us rather than being on social media but not doing a great job. So we said, well, right, we'll just let the hockey do the talking. And thankfully, we did exactly that. And our performances is what caused the social media interest to grow.
When you were as a group together and you made that decision, what were some of the other rules and group decisions you made as a team?
I think one of the big standout ones for us, well, we had to go through the detail around, you know, if things were to happen back home, kind of the processes, you know, if someone had some bad news, how that would get fed back to that person. So we all had like one member of staff that would be, you know, in contact with family back home that they could then speak to, and then they would know the right time to come and speak to us, because, you know, if you've got a bit of bad news immediately before a game, that's obviously going to impact things. And yeah, we had it literally down to a T in terms of what we say to each other. We agreed that if someone, you know, had watched maybe one of the other hockey games on that day, that we would all turn up to dinner and be talking about how well, for example, USA had played that afternoon, or did you see so-and-so, and blah, blah, blah. We literally just tried to block out everything else that was going on and just kind of stuck together and just focus on our jobs, really.
How would you unwind during the time in Rio then? What would you do?
It was quite funny. Our flat decided to take a Xbox with us, which none of us are gamers. None of us even own one. We had to get it off my brother, and we took it out and we put it on a massive projector, and we all played Mario Kart like every evening, which was hilarious because none of us had really played it before. But it was the only way really to kind of switch off, because you had to focus on that. So even if you watch a film, you tend to find your mind drifting and thinking about the game. So we were like, right, we actually need to do something, and we chose to do that. So yeah, our flat was really popular, and we had everyone trying to come around and play that, really.
Oh, great. Did it become really competitive?
Yeah, always a competition. Life is a competition for us.
I can imagine. Who ended up being the champion?
Me, obviously. No, I had a slight advantage having got a younger brother. So I'd played on it a bit when I was younger. So I think I was a little bit more clued into it than the others.
So let's talk about the final a little bit more. And one of the things which was picked up was the fact that you had some notes on a water bottle and you had kind of research on some of the players. What exactly had you was written on your water bottle?
Yeah, the infamous water bottle. I mean, I'd actually done that for every single game. It was part of my routine in the end that I kind of got on the bus. We had a good 30-minute bus journey to the ground every time we had a match, and I would kind of get the tape on my bottle and I'd just sit there and think about what I wanted to kind of focus on for that game. And so I'd write down a few keywords, and then I'd also write some numbers down which kind of were to do with penalty corners during the game against us. So it would be numbers for who tracks the ball, where it's likely to go, and it just reminds me of what the kind of stuff I need to call. So for the final, I'd written hands up, chin out, hands up, chin out, and stay big. Relaxed, hands up, chin out, and stay big. And that was just because I'd had a conversation with a coach that used to do some work with me in the past the day before, and he just said to me, look, if you kind of act and feel big in that final, then it will make a huge difference. So yeah, the standout thing for me is staying big. And yeah, I just have it on my bottle, and every time I go behind the goal, I look at it, and I think it helps.
Had you done anything like that before Rio?
I'd always done something on my bottle, normally around notes to do with corners. I actually hadn't decided to do the kind of motivational words until Rio, but I've always been a bit of a geek, and I've always tried to find some way of kind of having something to just remind me about decisions to make in the game. As a keeper, you have to make the calls on what kind of formations you run to defend corners, and there's a lot to think about. So I was just trying to make my mind a bit clearer, really.
Are there any other kind of rituals or other superstitions that you do into the lead up to a big game?
Yeah, I'm pretty superstitious. I'm trying to get rid of a few, but my ones that I always do is I have the same song that I listen to in a warm-up, and I always have to drink a can of Red Bull beforehand, and I always have to do 3 touch-ups at the top of the circle just before the whistle goes. Oh wow!
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What song is it?
It's called O Fortuna. You will never have heard of it. It's really embarrassing, but you need to Google it.
It's Fortuna, did you say?
Yeah, O Fortuna.
O Fortuna. All right, I'll listen to it, and I'm going to play it next time before I go to the gym. God. And so hopefully I'll get a better workout. Yeah, well, it's pretty heavy stuff, so be ready for that. You feel like you want to go to war afterwards. Oh, brilliant! Yeah, it's a good one. That's the kind of music I need at the end of a run on a treadmill, where you're just starting to lag, but you need to push that last 5 minutes. Yeah, so that's the one. That's definitely it. So it's O Fortuna, and it's by Spiritual Project. There you go. Spiritual Project. All right, I'm writing that down right now. Spiritual Project. O Fortuna. Okay, so it clearly works for you. That's because you became an Olympic champion. So you're at the penalties. What is going through your mind? And did you enjoy the fact that it was all coming effectively down to you? No, definitely not. I'd much rather just win rather than have to go through the absolute pressure of a shootout, which is pretty intense. But at the same time, the game, I'd been pretty busy in the game, and I felt like I was really in the match. So I remember when the final whistle went, I was actually pretty excited for the shootouts. We were really confident as a group, and you could just look at the Dutch and see that they weren't really up for it. So I remember saying to myself, I'm just going to enjoy this next kind of 20 minutes or so, and not have any regrets. So yeah, I was pretty relaxed, and yeah, really kind of just up for the challenge, to be honest. And it's a fantastic opportunity for a keeper to kind of play their part. So yeah, I was excited for it. Yeah, and what did it feel like when you finally got to touch that medal and it was around your neck? Do you remember it clearly, or does it all feel like a bit of a dream? Yeah, I don't. The whole evening was a blur. It's still a blur. I can't really tell you what I was thinking or feeling, or I remember just having jaw ache from smiling so much. And it doesn't actually feel like the whole thing ever actually happened. I've got this nice bit of bling that goes with me everywhere. And then other than that, I'm still a bit like, did we actually do what we did and in the fashion that we did it? But a really special moment, and in particular for the guys like Kate, our captain, and Helen, who, that was their fourth Olympic Games. They've been trying to do that. I'm fortunate that was my first one and got it first time round. So, I was most pleased for those guys who have had incredibly long and difficult careers. So they're able to kind of hang up their hockey sticks now with no regrets. And you just missed out on getting into the team for 2012. What did you kind of do differently in the lead up to 2016? Like when you had kind of the disappointment of not making 2012, are there anything you changed in your routines, in your training habits, mentally, that you did to make sure that you were in goal for GB at the 2016 Rio Olympics?
I think I think naturally as a keeper you tend to get better with age and with maturity. So I think for me, I was pretty young going into London. I had my heart set on being that number 2 to Beth, and I didn't get it, and it was another knock in my career. I've had quite a few, and then I remember just thinking to myself, right, I'm going to kind of go into the next kind of cycle and focus more on kind of me as a keeper and kind of what my strengths are. So, I've always been pretty explosive and want to be out and about in the circle. And I think when I play well, I just play on instinct. And I think I spent a lot of the time as a younger keeper trying too hard and trying to impress and trying to be something that I'm not. And now I've learned kind of with age and just playing more and more that, you do all the hard work back home to give you those moments to just step on the field and just play and not think about anything. And my best games, I can't tell you what I was thinking, but in my worst games, I can tell you every single thing that's going through my head. So now I have a very kind of relaxed approach in a match, and I just trust that I've done the work and that it will all just come right. And if I've done all the work and I don't think, I could have trained a bit harder then, I'm sure it will go well. And I think that's kind of the mindset you need to have, or you spend the whole time battling yourself.
And you mentioned some of the other knocks you've had, that you've had quite a few in your career. What are some of the other ones which you would say have potentially made you a stronger person and a better player? Yeah,
I mean, I had quite a few. I struggled initially when I was a youngster because I was pretty different. I'm not a stereotypical keeper. I'm pretty small, and I was struggling to kind of get the nod from the coaches. But the standout one for me was our Junior World Cup year, under 21 level. I got dropped before the final training camp before Spain. I just got a phone call saying, we're not taking you on to Spain for the final preparation phase. And I was literally devastated because I just thought, my whole career is going to keep getting these setbacks. And I think looking back now, I wouldn't actually change my journey at all. I almost am grateful for having those kind of knocks, because I think you just want it more and more, and then you learn to just find that extra bit of kind of fighting you to train that a little bit harder. So I generally think you go on to be kind of great because of the setbacks you've had in the past. So yeah, I'm kind of thankful for them now, but at the time they felt like the end of the world.
Yeah, I bet. But you've got that gold medal. That's what all the hard work was for. So you mentioned that you weren't a typical size for a goalie. So how did you first start keeping? Where did that come from?
I actually joined the school a little bit late. My dad was in the Navy, so we travelled a lot as a family, and we came back to the UK in the summer term of the school time. So I joined the school, and I was very much the new kid, and it was a rounders season, and apparently I was really dramatic in a rounders field, diving around for balls that were just coming straight at me. And I remember the rounders coach saying to me, right, we need to send you home with the goalie pads because we want you to go in goal next season. But I reckon it was just because I was a new kid, and no one ever wants to go in goal at the age of 13 as a girl anyway. So it was, but yeah, apparently I suited the role perfectly, and thankfully it kind of worked out pretty well.
Yeah, it certainly did. And then you went on to study sport and exercise science at Loughborough, is that right?
Yeah.
That's right. How was that, and how difficult was it at times to both study and to train?
Yeah, it was really tough. I wouldn't say my university kind of experience was the same as most people's. When I first arrived at uni, I was in the middle of big tournaments coming up, and I couldn't join all my friends on the nights that way. You get to meet people and make your kind of friendship circle. So I really struggled to start with, and then also trying to balance with a degree on top of that. It was really, really tough. But Loughborough, they're incredibly good at managing athletes that have all these dilemmas as well. So they're really flexible in allowing you a bit of time to go away and maybe focus on your hockey for a bit and then come back. So they were really good with me. Before London, I had a year out, and then I was able to come back to uni and carry on my degree. So in the end, I did well at both. So, but yeah, my uni experience is definitely different to most of my friends.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now, I asked a few people on Twitter to send any questions to you, and got one here from Zoe Mather. and it's one of the questions we normally ask most of our Olympic and world champions who come on the best in the world every week. And it's, what's the typical day like for you, Maddie? So maybe just give us an idea of what time you normally get up, when you train, perhaps the type of food you're eating as well, please.
Yeah, so in the lead up to Rio, training days were really, really pretty intense. I would normally be kind of up at around 7ish, because we would tend to be on the pitch, around 9. So I needed to be up kind of eating at about 7. And then, for me, my food in the morning was pretty regular. It was always porridge, or maybe toast and eggs. It was either one or two, depending on how I was feeling, or what session I had coming up. And then I'd head over to Bisham, do the pitch session. We'd then normally have a meeting immediately afterwards. And then after that, it would be either I'd probably have physio or video work to do. And then I'd either be in the gym or back on the pitch again, depending what day it was. And then in the evening, I would go home and I'd go down to my local David Lloyd and get in a pool and just get some recovery done. And then I'm usually wrapped up by about 8 or 9 p.m. And food-wise, I was really fortunate to actually be working with a company that fed me. So all my food was delivered for me and I was able to just literally heat up the Tupperware and eat what I needed to eat that day.
That's a great thing, I've spoken to other athletes on the show who've got their food prepared for them, because I guess it's just one less thing for you to think about, right?
Yeah, definitely. It ticks a really important box for us, and it's a really hard thing to achieve with so little time in the day spare. So, these companies that are, offering to kind of take away that kind of side of things for you is fantastic, and it's hugely important, because nutrition is literally key to a lot of what we're doing. So I'm very grateful for those guys for letting me do that, and it made things a hell of a lot easier.
And I believe you're playing your normal club hockey in the Netherlands, is that right? Yeah,
I'm over at Stixa.
How long have you been there, and what's it like living in the Netherlands?
Yeah, I mean, in the end, it was all very ironic that I was going to go and play there. Within 5 days of returning from Rio, I was in Holland, and obviously off the back of the final, it was a bit strange being there, and I didn't know what kind of reception I'd get. But the club have been fantastic. I've been there now. Well, we've had 11 games, and it's now the winter break, so I'm back in the UK now until February, and then the season starts up again. But no, it's been a great experience, and I've very much enjoyed it there.
Because it was a very strong Netherlands team that you beat in that final, wasn't it? They were the reigning champions. I've had Ellen Hoog on this show before, so it's really impressive what you guys did. Well, Maddie, it's been so great to talk to you today on The Best in the World with Richard Parr. Just before you go, could you just tell us how we can continue to follow your journey on Twitter and social media, and so we can see how you're getting on, please?
Of course, yeah. I mean, my handles are all the same. It's just at Maddie Hinch on Twitter and at Maddie Hinch on Instagram. I enjoy the social media side of things, so I try and keep people up to date as much as I can. Hopefully the following in hockey will just continue to grow. And I'm sure there's lots of exciting things coming up that people can, keep on track on with what I'm doing, really.
Yeah, well, it's been great to learn from you, and I know that many people were inspired by your performance and the team's performance. It was absolutely amazing. Maddie Hinch, thank you for being on today's show, and thank you for being the best in the world.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
The Best in the World podcast with Richard Parr.